Welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. We really appreciate you listening. We'll be talking about everyday mom life with some pixie dust from Disney thrown in from time to time. This is a judgment-free zone. We know everyone parents differently, and we're just two moms doing our best as we figure out this whole parenting thing. So now, let's get this party started with today's episode. We're going in without a safety net once again.
Oh my gosh, what is happening to me? This is just so unusual.
I'm so proud of you.
I mean, I guess a few housekeeping details, and by a few, I mean one. We have a new logo.
Yay!
This is like the first big step in the Magical Mommy Monday podcast world.
Yeah.
We have evolved. Go us.
We're growing, we're changing. We're not changing. We're just, I don't know.
So if you scroll through the gram or Twitter and you see, wow, what is this marvelous pink color?
Mm-hmm.
That's us.
Yeah.
And then it might remind you, oh, I'm still following these people. Oh, unfollow.
Listen, why doesn't Instagram love us? If you listen to this and you're on Instagram, can you follow us over there? There are days where I feel like some posts of ours get some engagement, but our number doesn't move.
It happens. I mean, people just have not recognized how utterly hilarious we are.
Well, that's true. Are they not appreciating my letter of the day I'm doing? I mean, come on.
Have they not appreciated P for pizza? I mean, come on.
No. What am I going to do this time once I get to P? My goodness, I already did pizza. Been there, done that.
I know. Hidden gems. Hidden gems, I tell you. Anyway, welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. I'm Angela Dahlgren here with my co-host Jen Snyder.
Hello.
And our new logo, as I mentioned earlier.
And our new logo is here too. Hey, new
logo. Today we are talking about my trip to Colorado. I just got back yesterday. We are recording this on Saturday. You are listening Monday. None of that is relevant. I got back yesterday. I was there all of last week. If you're listening today, I am just like not doing well today. I don't have my A game on today.
What? You're
fine. Like I'm very rambly. People listening are like, what else is new?
I'm just talking.
I'm just jiving.
Yeah, well, good.
Yeah, so I was there from Tuesday morning to Friday morning. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about. Jen, you're going to play interviewer.
I am.
I'm going to play adventurer, I guess.
Yeah. When you texted me to say that you were back, like immediately I want to start like asking questions about your trip. But knowing we were going to record this weekend, I was like, you know what? Let me keep it fresh. So I probably also appeared like, oh, you're back. Yay, good for you. I'm not following up with any other tags because I'm saving it all for the podcast.
You're like, oh, you again? You're back. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good for you. Great. So, but I am excited that you went, and I think we need to take things step by step because I know things that happened like while you were there, which we need to get into, but let's go with your first travel experience since COVID has happened. And you went on an airplane and you did all the things. So tell me about all those travel parts.
I feel so weird talking about it because it's like I say in one breath how seriously I take COVID, and then I'm flying on an airplane. So I feel like it's like I'm a sham. Like, you know, I was just like, I'm a fake. So I'm just going to take you through my thought process. Okay. And then, you know.
This is a judgment-free zone.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do feel like a fraud right now. So we had every intention to drive. I think I might have even mentioned that on a podcast. Like, we are going to drive and it was going to be 12 hours. And we're like, you know what? We're going to do it. We haven't been anywhere since January. Like, let's just go there. Let's just be crazy people.
Yeah.
And then the week before, we drove an hour and a half to my aunt and uncle's cabin. My parents were there on a little vacation, and they're like, well, do you want to come up for the day? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. We have not been farther than an hour past our house since January when we went to Florida. And so we're like, okay, well, whatever. So we drive the hour and a half, and every 10 minutes, my daughter's saying, "Are we there yet? When are we going to be there? Are we there? How much longer?" And my husband and I look at each other and we're thinking there is no way she can do 12 hours in the car. And she's our oldest. My son is 4. So she's going to be 7. And we're just saying, how is this going to happen? So we talked about it and we're thinking, okay, how could we travel a different way and how could we do it safely?
Mm-hmm.
So we look at flights. We have a bunch of e-credits from when we were going to go to Hawaii in August and had to cancel. Flights were not that bad. Normally they're pretty expensive. I want to say they're like $300 or $400 to go to Colorado. They were for sure under $250.
Yeah.
And that was like in main cabin. So they're very affordable. And we're going to fly, well, not for free, but we're going to fly using e-credits anyway. Delta has a really good protocol in place. They, leave a seat free and masks are mandatory, among other things that I'll get into. So we thought, okay, so we're good there. And then we looked at the calendar. That was kind of the next thing. It's like, okay, well, when are we going to possibly infect people? And Halloween was the next thing where we would see anyone. And that was 15 days away.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, okay, well, we're going to have 2 weeks to quarantine then.
Yeah.
So even if we get something, well, we're going to know before we see anyone.
Right.
And then we decided, okay, well, even before then, let's get a COVID test when we get back. We were thinking maybe 2 days, but I think we're going to wait like 5 and then we'll have time to like get infected or whatever. We'll have
God
time for
forbid.
symptoms. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Okay. So we decide to go ahead and buy tickets. How is my storytelling skills? I feel like I'm a bad storyteller.
You
Is it?
are so self-conscious about your
I
storytelling.
am. I'm a really horrible
It's a
storyteller.
non-issue.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel okay. I'm trying to give details because Michael always says that I don't give enough and then he gives too many. So I'm just like really self-conscious about it.
You're
I
good.
always just get like straight to the meat of the story and don't provide any details.
I was wondering about Delta because I know that JetBlue is doing the leave a seat in the middle, but where I get all my news on TikTok, I see some flights that are current where everyone's just crammed in, and I'm like, what airline is that? Because no.
Right. That is more like, from what I hear, kind of like the Sun Country Spirit type airlines.
Yeah.
Where you tend to like choose your seat kind of thing.
Right.
Not the case with Delta. They're super strict.
Mhm.
Another thing I did is I ordered face shields.
Yeah.
My brother is a COVID specialist, and I immediately texted him and I said, "Can we do this safely?" And he said, if you wear eye protection, if you wear a face mask, you should be fine on the plane.
Mhm.
No, obviously I'm going to do a disclaimer for him and be like, there's always a chance you could get COVID, but he's like, you know what, you're protecting yourself as best you can.
Right.
So yeah, he's like, yeah, you should be fine. So I go on Amazon and like, shout out to Amazon, what's his name? Like Jeff Bezos or whatever, for as much money as he has, and he upcharged things during the pandemic, whatever, like not good, not great.
Right.
But in this case, I ordered my face shields like Friday evening.
Mm-hmm.
They arrived early Saturday afternoon, like less than a day later.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, well done, Amazon. That was amazing. So I ordered
understand how they make that work so fast. Like sometimes I'll wait like 2 days or whatever, and some things are here like the next morning. I'm like, how did that happen?
Like, where are you coming from?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea. So I ordered face shields. The fun part about the trip is that we didn't tell our kids that they were going. We just were like, because we've always wanted to do that where we surprise them with a trip. Because what normally happens is if it's like a Disney trip, it's my daughter asking me every single day, probably every half hour, how many days until Disney? When are we going? How many days again? Can we make like a little paper chain? And this time there was no one doing that. But at the same time, Michael and I almost spilled the beans. so many times.
Yeah.
Like you're just, when you're planning for a trip, you have to talk about it and get certain things in orders.
Mhm.
So without thinking about it, I'd be like, oh, do we need to buy anything for the but we made a scavenger hunt for them and it brought them all over the house that morning and it had little short poems and then it ended with us telling them that we were going on the trip and I sent Jen the video.
I loved it. It was so cute.
Yeah, it was fun. They were very excited. Okay. So the morning of the trip, we, get to the airport, blah, blah, blah. We walk onto the plane and as you walk on, Delta hands you a PRL wipe so
Mhm.
you can wipe your hands. And I thought that was really neat because what we normally do when we get on a plane is I have like like the wet ones or like the
Mhm.
Clorox wipes.
Yep.
We'll grab either of those and wipe down the entire area because my kids are going to touch everything. I already know this. So I'm going to like minimize as many germs as I can. But by Delta giving that to you right away, you can wipe your hands or you can wipe your area with it. Another thing Delta did is before you even got on the plane, they messaged you in the Delta app saying, your plane has been sanitized and disinfected. So it
That's
kind of
cool.
gave you that extra security knowing before you
Mhm.
even get on the plane, like it's clean.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, I don't trust anything during COVID, so I still
Sure.
wiped everything down. So once you got in your area, you felt like everything in your area, except maybe the carpet, was sanitized. You felt
Right.
clean and you felt comfortable on the plane.
Yeah.
And then I think there was also another sheet there that said certain precautions that they had taken, like the air was filtered every 2 to 4 minutes,
Mhm.
things like that. But we still had a mask on and the face shield. Now, the only con with that is that the face shield, unless you're getting the kid size ones, it's kind of harder for them to stay on your kids' faces. Worked
Mhm.
on my daughter really well. My son, who's 4, it kept falling off. So my husband had brought like glasses, like eye
Mhm.
protector glasses, made it like if you would do like, I don't know, wood cutting. I don't know what you would
Uh-huh.
call it.
Yeah.
He brought his, so they just switched. And Michael used a face shield. My son used the glasses, but even those were too big, so they kept
Mhm.
falling off of him. So I was so nervous the whole flight, like, oh my gosh, COVID's gonna get into my kids' eyes. It's like,
Yeah.
but we did the best we can. So felt pretty good on that end. Only weird thing is Delta still gave you a snack.
Right.
So they didn't come with the drink card asking you if you want a box of food, if you want, Coke or coffee,
Mhm.
but they gave you this little bag. Actually, I kind of wish they do this every time, to be honest. They gave you this little bag. In the bag was this tiny little, like, one-time thing of hand sanitizer,
Okay.
which was cool. I think they should honestly do that every flight.
Yeah.
They gave you a bag of biscuits, like I don't know, it kind of tastes like it's like called a biscuit, but it's sweet.
Mhm.
They gave you Cheez-Its, a thing about breast cancer, and then was that it? Oh, a napkin and a bottle of water.
Okay.
So it's just this little baggie, and that's all they were
Yeah.
handing out with the bags. Really cool that they did that because then it's like minimizing touch.
Right.
But then people are taking off their masks to eat.
To eat. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, they're still filtering the air every 2 to 4 minutes. It was the only thing that I was like, oh, did we make a good choice?
Right.
Um, but yeah. So even so, we had the face shields on. So
Yeah.
another
Yeah, and it's just
barrier.
yeah. I mean, and like you said, I think between Delta and you guys, you're all doing the absolute best you can. You're taking all the
Right.
precautions necessary. You're not just like, whatever, who cares? I do think a lot of the things that are in place now should totally stick around forever. And
Totally agree. Yeah.
I mean, I worked for an airline for over 6 years, and because I worked in the office side of it, I heard a lot of behind the scenes stories of how gross planes are. And so I've known,
Oh,
and what's so funny, even back then, knowing that, I never brought things on the plane to sanitize. Maybe I brought like antibacterial stuff for like my hands, but like I never brought wipes. But as soon as I had a child, and we were taking him on a plane at 5 months old, I was like, oh my God, we got to wipe down this plane. It's going to be so gross. So
Mhm.
that's when I started bringing like Clorox wipes, and I would do the hand rest and the tray table and the window and like
Mhm.
anything I thought like, if I'm
He could
holding him
touch.
up somehow, what would he touch? All the things. But so, for me, that's a new normal that started 6 years ago. But I
Right.
think everybody should be doing that because planes are really gross. And this should stick around forever.
That's a really good point. And I even mentioned to Michael, I wonder if this is going to cut down on people who get sick
Hmm.
after trips. Like, I will often get a cold after a trip, no matter what I
Absolutely.
do, no matter where I go. And then sometimes I'm like, well, I went to Disney. I pushed myself way too hard. I got 4 hours of sleep and I lived off caffeine. Like,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah.
But other times it's like, even though I sanitized my area and, stayed in my seat, like things, I mean, the planes aren't cleaned that often. They normally just pick up garbage, blah, blah, blah. Um, but I do wonder if between the masks and them sanitizing
Hmm.
between every flight, I do wonder if this is going to minimize in general illness.
Yeah. I did see someone put something somewhere. How many sums can I say? On social media that I guess they are a pharmacist, and they normally see like this certain number of prescriptions for Tamiflu by now, already in
Uh-huh.
October. And personally, they had seen none. So you're like, I think something's working with those masks and everything else that's in place. Like maybe this is helping other things too.
It would be interesting to see even after COVID. I mean, I don't think it's a long-term thing, but as
Hmm.
far as masks during flu season,
Hmm.
I doubt people will keep it up after all of this. They're going to be like, I just don't want to wear it anymore.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? Or just,
Yeah.
even if we kept up the extra sanitization procedures.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it's worth it.
Yeah. We got off the plane. Actually, you know what, Jen? I want you to ask me a question. This is fun.
This
I
is
like when you
great.
talk.
So, I don't know what you were doing. Because I forgot when you had initially mentioned it. Did you have friends or family you were seeing, or were you like going to a hotel? What was your situation once you were in Colorado?
Okay, so we just kind of were getting a little stir crazy and we
Hmm.
wanted to go somewhere that we wouldn't put, ourselves in jeopardy.
Hmm.
We wouldn't put family in jeopardy and we could be outside as much as possible
Yeah.
and eat not inside,
Right. Hmm.
eat away from people. We
Yeah.
just wanted to have a change of scenery.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of the daily grind and side note, I know we're privileged to even go somewhere and have this time. But it's just yeah, we just wanted to get out and do something,
Yeah.
And so I did something that I never do. And I
Ooh.
told my husband, I don't care what we do. You plan everything, whatever.
Hmm. Wow,
Very,
that's huge.
I know. Like, who have
There's
I
a
become?
lot of growing going on here.
2020, man, right? No, I'll periodically do this where like I will go to the nth degree planning these Walt Disney World trips where it's just like Excel spreadsheets and making all these reservations and checking like every 10 minutes for fast passes and to see if
Hmm.
I could get the time I want. And then when it comes to a Michael trip, I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. You just honey, you plan this one. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? You don't care what we're doing? So I went into this trip and people kept being like, well, what are you guys gonna do? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. And
Yeah.
people would look at me like you're going on a trip and you don't, where are you staying? I don't know. What parts of California or Colorado are you going to? I think we're going to stay in Denver at one point. I have no idea. You're going to have to ask Michael. And they just thought I was crazy. As far as family, I do have a great aunt that lives there.
Okay.
We were there such a short time and we were only in her town less than a day.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see her. It was just such a short trip. So that was a bit of a bummer. It was my first trip to Colorado. Same with the kids. Michael,
Hmm.
I think it was his third trip.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
So
that's
where did you end up staying then? Were you in a hotel?
so we
Airbnb?
we stayed at two hotels.
Okay.
So we flew into Denver and drove. Our first night was in Boulder.
Okay.
So we flew in and Michael had planned an activity for me in Boulder. So we had to spend the first night in Boulder because my thing was pretty early. But first, at the airport around the car rental place, we
Mhm.
ran into these people that we didn't know. And she told us, she's like, you need to go to Idaho Springs. They have the best coffee there called the Frothy Cup. And the
Mm.
lady there is named Glinda. And she looks like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. I'm like, oh, okay, she had me there. I guess we have to go now. And they make homemade whipped cream to put on top of their coffee.
Ooh, was it amazing?
Oh my gosh. That whipped cream tasted like ice cream. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about it now. It was so, so good. And I'm not necessarily a sweets person. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Spoiler, we went to Idaho
Yeah.
Springs.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to jump ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now he's jumping ahead in your stories without
No.
giving.
No, I'm already talking about the food. I'm like daydreaming about it. No, so we did. Because we didn't necessarily have a ton of plans for that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we drove to Idaho Springs, and this part of me came out that I didn't know existed. Idaho Springs, it's like apparently this up and coming town, but first and foremost, it's this very much has this Western feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like think a little bit like Back to the Future 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
Back to the Future 3, where they're in the Wild West and there's like an old mill where you can gold mine and stuff. It kind of has that feel.
Yeah.
And I was just, I mean, at the risk of kind of sounding like a Gen Zer, like I was living for it. Like
Yeah.
it had this like Western vibe that I was just loving. And I was telling Michael, I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me right now, but like I'm seeing mountains and a gold mine, and I'm just like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
This is amazing. But yeah, it's becoming kind of an up and coming town. It's very small. It has like a main street and everything. But we went to this Frothy Cup, talked with the person working there who was from the Dominican Republic, and chatted with her a little bit. And I just had a vanilla latte. Michael had their specialty, which was like a hazelnut and caramel latte, and had this amazing whipped cream on it. I could just, oh my gosh, so good. The kids had a smoothie. And then because of COVID, they actually closed the street to their downtown,
Okay.
to their main street. So
Mm.
what that meant is they could put a bunch of tables in the street, and that's where people could sit. And it created this really nice community feel. There
Yeah.
weren't a ton of people because we went maybe around the 3 or 4 o'clock range, and things closed at 5. So there were barely any people, but you could get your drink and then go outside and sit. And it
Yeah.
was really, really nice. Yeah, we just had a really good time. I unfortunately didn't feel great. Altitude, man. It was just,
Yeah.
I was getting a headache and I felt really, really nauseous. So I had to go get some Tums from a gas station. That first night wasn't the greatest as
Yeah.
far as how I felt, but I really kind of chalked that up to altitude. Everyone else seemed fine.
Yeah.
But
But it affects everyone differently.
yeah, and
And I'm sure coming off of the plane and it's your first plane ride, the anxiety might have been heightened a bit,
and
so
I almost threw up on the plane like 4 times. So I
yeah.
think I already was kind of on the verge. And
Right.
then between the altitude and maybe being a little dehydrated,
Yeah.
honestly, I think a good portion of it was dehydration.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Um,
sure. And it's such dry air out there, so that
yes.
when so my uncle lives out there, and I've only been once, and I was a junior in high school, I think. And it was during the summertime. And
Oh,
so it was so weird having, at that point, I don't think I'd ever been like past the East Coast anywhere. So to be in like a new type of environment and to be like, I mean, it's hot out, but yet I'm not sweating. And it's not like you don't have the humidity and all of that. And I'd be like, am I sunburned? I didn't even feel like I got any, like, what just happened during that time?
I
But it's
totally
funny.
agree.
It's funny you mentioned the Old West feel, because he where he rented videos from, you know, VHS tapes and such from the video store. Again, I was in high school, and I'm old. We went to return it. First of all, he had a motorcycle. I got on the back of it. Who am I?
You're
And
so
so
brave.
I know, right? I was so cool. And we went to return the video at this store that looked like it was straight out of an old Western, and it was
Oh
like
my
it
God.
used to be the bar or something, and there were poles outside like where you would tie up your horse in order to go in, like, and I was
Oh
like,
my
"Where am I? This
gosh.
is crazy."
How did I get here?
Yeah. But he also had he still has horses and stuff. And I remember going up on a horse one day and they're like, all right, so you just want to do this and do that. And I'm like, I'm gonna need to get off this horse before I pass out and I think the altitude and the heat like got to me in this weird way. And I was like, I can't be up here. You gotta
No,
get me up here.
I totally know what you mean. It's a different kind of feel.
Yeah.
And since my body is so weird anyway, between getting migraines and
Mm-hmm.
certain medication I'm on, kind of always make me feel weird. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, this could be altitude, but this could also just be me at like being me and having weird feelings, like
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so the first night wasn't great, but
Yeah.
I knew I had to feel better the next day because my husband, who I love so much, scheduled an outdoor rock climbing experience for me,
Yeah, I did.
which I knew about. I'm actually trying to see how tall the mountain was. Okay. I think we talked about it in an episode or two ago. I have been rock climbing a lot more lately. And one of the things I've wanted to do for probably the past year is rock climb outside and learn how to do that. Just get
Mm-hmm.
my hands on some real rock instead of, the climbing gym. And so my husband, all of a sudden, one day in my email was a confirmation for this climbing experience. It was a 5-hour experience with a guide where you go to the flatirons and you climb it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing this. Okay. And it wasn't until we drove into Boulder and Michael pointed out the mountain. I was already a little nervous, but I was like, well, whatever, okay. It wasn't until he pointed out the mountain that I looked at it and thought, holy this is gonna be so scary.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Like I gotta figure out how to put a beep in our episode because I have to leave that in. So I was going to be climbing one of the flat irons. I believe there's 5, and I was going through Golden Mountain Guides. The owner is Ben, I believe. Yeah, Ben's the owner, and he was also my guide. He was amazing,
Mhm.
and I would recommend that anyone go through his company. I'll tell you more of the story and why it was so incredible. But yes, he called the day before and he asked me kind of what my experience was.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I climb in the gym. I've climbed, a 5, 10.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, it's gonna be really blustery. It's gonna be really, really windy. So I would grab a few layers,
Oh
just
my
have a few
god.
layers. Like, oh my God, okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm from Minnesota. I mean, I have rain odds. I'm cold all the
Yeah.
time, but okay. And so the night before, I'm like making Michael pack my bag for me because I'm like, well, he's been to Colorado. And he climbed Mount Elbert. Like he knows. I mean, Michael
Yeah.
never rock climbed, but he hiked things. So I
Mhm.
just assume he knows more than me. So he's like packing my little bag for me and helping me fill my little water container and giving me tips and whatever. Um, oh gosh, I'm just going back and I'm just having like some climbing PTSD thinking about all this. So I did be there at 8 a.m. And so Michael and the kids dropped me off. And Michael, of course, filmed me on the GoPro to get my nervous reaction. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to die, but I don't think I will. But if I do, I love you all very, very much. I was just myself. I was so nervous. I was
Yeah.
so nervous. Um, so I meet the guide, then also the owner, super nice guy. And he asked me right away, he's like, okay, do you like jokes? And I'm kind of wondering, like, why is he asking me if I like jokes?
Mhm.
And later on, I come to find that he was cracking so many jokes with one client that the lady was finally like, just stop. Just stop. So I see. I now realize why he asked me.
Right.
Um,
Seeing your level of comfortability.
exactly.
Comfortability.
Comfortability.
Yeah.
So the flat irons, he told me that we are going to be climbing the first one, which I think is also like the tallest.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where he had such faith in me, but I think it honestly came down to the winds. I don't think it was me. I think it was the winds. But he said we were going to be climbing the first one. So the trip to where you're going to climb starts with a hike. And keep in mind, everyone, I'm not really an adventure person. Like, yeah, I do jujitsu, I do rock climbing. This doesn't really mean anything. I don't like I don't do outside stuff. I just don't. So this hike, it was intense.
Yeah.
Like, and it was long. And when you're not used to the altitude, you're tired like within the first 3 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I go on a Peloton type bike every single day for 30 minutes. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I have 2 kids. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my husband, yeah, he does this for work. And I'm just like so out of breath. And he's just not even breaking a sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big deal, not out of breath at all. But the hike was really intense to that point in the mountain. I want to say the entire mountain that I did is like 5,000 feet.
Oh my God.
And I think we had to hike around, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, 3,000, I don't know. So anyway, but you're going over, it's not like a path.
Yeah.
They do make, a path. Obviously, they have to have a trail, but it's not the kind of trail you would expect. Like you're climbing, you're stepping over rocks and
Right.
like it's and trees and it's like an intense trail. I asked him, so my husband has climbed Snicktow and Mount Albert, and I asked him like, okay, well, what does that compare to? So if you guys are mountain people, he said it's more like the terrain of Mount Albert, just obviously a shorter mountain. So it's pretty intense. So by the time we even got to the climbing part, I was exhausted.
We're like,
Like,
okay, that was fun.
I was
Thanks.
just like, we still have to climb now. That's like the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he kept asking me, he's like, do you want to take a break? I'm like, no, I could do it. We're good. Cause I'm thinking like, okay, if he wants me to take a break now, like
Yeah.
we're not even an hour into this. I still have to climb. Like, no,
Yeah.
I need to just do this. And, it's no secret that I have generalized anxiety. So we get to the base of the mountain and I'm asking him like every question. And
Mm-hmm.
like, so how do we know I'm not going to die? Like, am I going to die today? And he's like, okay, well, I've done over 200 of like climbs of this and I haven't died. Like, obviously climbing is inherently dangerous,
Yeah.
but you will be fine.
Yeah.
And this is when like I really have to try to be logical when it comes to my anxiety, because mine is something where I could get very carried away with the thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
So you have a rope and the rope could hold like a Mack truck. You have these carabiners and these cams that could hold like a falling Mack truck.
Yeah.
And you can justify in your head, like, I know this is strong enough to hold me if it can hold a freaking semi, but you see them and they're like the size of your palm.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it doesn't make sense. This does not keep me
Can add
safe.
up.
It doesn't. Like, how can this keep me safe? But he's showing me and he's like, he was so nice. Oh my gosh. Like, you can just tell that he's used to freaks like me who are just like, okay, so tell me again, like, how safe am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just very good about explaining that, like, what these tools do, how they keep you safe, how this was a new rope, things like that.
Yeah.
And if something wasn't correct about something I did, he wasn't like that condescending jerk that was like, that's done wrong. He's like, you know what? You just might want to tighten that up just a little bit. Yep, there you go. That looks good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like train me how to not say things like a jerk, because I need some additional training. Okay. Do you have any questions before I talk about the climb?
Oh my goodness. I don't All right. So you said Michael and the kids dropped you off. Did they go somewhere else completely, or were they able to watch you do
So
any of this?
So Michael took the kids to Dinosaur Ridge, and it
Okay.
was like, it's like something where like there's the most fossils or something. I don't know. It looked really, really cool. And they saw actual dinosaur footprints,
Okay.
which is like, it just sounds unreal. They got like, they got to pick out a fossil, and Jay picked out like a snail fossil, like, which is so Jay. And Annie picked out like a shark one, shark
Okay.
tooth. And they just got to see other dinosaur fossils, and it was mainly outdoors, and I think they took a little tour somewhere.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, that was something I would like to go on, but like I was too busy having a panic attack.
You were
So
busy rock climbing on big mountains. No biggie.
it's too busy. It just, bucket list. So he kind of explains, and like, think about this guy. Like, can we just like commend Ben for a minute? He is taking these absolute noobs who have never climbed outside before, and
Hmm.
he's trusting them essentially with his life.
Yeah.
Like, he's teaching them how to belay him, which like means basically holding the rope and giving him
Hmm.
slack while he climbs, trusting them to not like, if he falls, to catch him.
Yeah.
And he's teaching them how to do that. And then just like this whole process, like, like, he's stuck with people like me who are just, on the verge of literally having a panic attack the
Yeah.
entire time. He even told me a story how like there are people who like will cling to him on the mountain, people who like the first pitch will be like, nope, can't do it. And
Yeah.
like, I was thinking things like that the entire time. It's scary.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you like, oh, cool. So I'm going to do that.
Well, so I kind of get into this headspace when it comes to really scary things that I commit to, like jujitsu competitions.
Hmm.
It's like you build up to it. It's the build up, and you just get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I have to do this.
Yep.
I committed to it. Let's do it now. I guess it's go time. So he climbs. Of course, he makes it look super easy because he's done it over 200 times.
Hmm.
And then he's like, okay, your turn. Climb on. And I start climbing the wall, and I could not believe how different it was than a
Yeah.
climbing gym. Like, obviously it feels different, but it's scary. It's scary because, in a climbing gym, if you fall, it's like, well, whatever. I have an auto belay, which means
Hmm.
like it's no one's holding the rope. It's like a little machine that it uses tension and stuff. And basically,
Yeah.
like, if you fall, whatever, you just like baby hit the wall, and then you're eased down via the machine.
Yeah.
With this, it's a person that holds on to you, and then little cams that are in the rock formation.
Yeah.
So it just makes you kind of overanalyze every decision you're making,
Yeah.
every step you take.
Right.
And it's just very real. But at the same time, if you want to get higher up on the wall, you kind of have to take a little risk because there's
Hmm.
only so many spots to grab that kind of work.
Right.
Um, so it was scary, but I made I sended the first pitch fine. Um, and oh my gosh, it was, my heart was beating so fast, but the first pitch was okay. Um, I apparently have a bigger fear of heights than I realized,
Hmm.
because at one point I tried to get out my phone to take a video for Michael. He's like, take GoPro footage or take video on your phone. I tried. I took out my phone, started panicking. I'm like, I can't do this. And I put my phone
Yeah.
away immediately. Um, Second pitch is when I kind of got, I wouldn't, it was hard. Like, I had fun climbing, but I was still scared. So
Yeah.
I'm a fast climber. So I climbed, I was a little more comfortable at that time as far as the climbing. So I used my speed more,
Hmm.
um, to the point where it was kind of harder for him to keep up with the belaying.
Yeah.
And then there was more rope, it wasn't as tense. So then I'm like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
fall farther if I fall. Um, so things were okay that pitch. Um, there was one, I was as scared as I have been in my entire life, and I'm not even exaggerating. I was terrified on this pitch. He went up and it was also, I think, the farthest distance we were at that point too. I looked at the wall and I said, I can't get up. I don't know where to put my feet. The part where your feet had to go was just smooth. And there wasn't really, to me, a place to put my feet.
Yeah.
And I had grips for my hands on the right side, and then my feet kind of had to go to the left. And I told him, I said, I don't think I could do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you got this. Just look for the holds. And that whole pitch, I was terrified. The whole pitch, I didn't think I could do it. I obviously did, but it just took a lot more like, okay, well, you have to just kind of take your time, stop panicking, look for the holds. And it was the best pitch for rock climbing. But it was also the hardest one, I would say. And you're so exposed. And like, by meaning like, like it's just all wall and kind of less places where, you could sit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was so scared. And I kept saying to him, I'm like, I'm really scared.
Oh.
And he's like, you got it. Just, grab right there. You're doing really good. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be done after this. And he's like, all right. Let's just come on, keep going. And if I find a video of that certain pitch, maybe I'll post it to our Instagram, because just thinking about it, it was so scary and so hard. But obviously I climbed it. He's like, no, you did really good. And I said, I think I want to be done. He's like, well, you know what? Let's just do one more pitch. Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah.
I think I did maybe two or maybe two pitches after that. Cause I said, is that the worst one? He's like, well, there's one more. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not exaggerating. I was so scared the entire time. I have an Apple Watch, and when I had a break, I would like voice text Michael and say, I'm so scared. I'm so terrified. I want to be done. And I was thinking the entire time, when am I going to be done? How much longer? Like, when can I say I survived this?
Yeah.
It was just terrifying. It was. I mean, now it's like when you have a baby and you forget how much it hurts. Like, I'm slowly forgetting how scared I was, like the actual feeling, like the physical symptoms. I'm forgetting those. So I can now see the fun of climbing. Not necessarily enough that I'm in a hurry to do it again.
Yeah.
But enough that I can see, like, yeah, that was a cool experience climbing on real rock. But on the last pitch that I did, I completed it. I was like clinging to the rock that he told me I could sit next to.
Yeah.
Because the winds picked up. Those blustery winds that he mentioned got up to 60 or 65 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
And and at that point, like, we were very, very close to the top. We just had the summit left to do, which is a series of like 4 really short pitches. So I had done about 80% of the mountain, or about 1,000 feet. I climbed about 1,000 feet, which is probably 92 stories. So I'd climbed 92 stories. I mean, that's
that it?
1,000 feet, pretty substantial. I had done the hardest part of the mountain. I'd done all the hardest climbing. I had the easiest part to go.
Yeah.
But I decided to be done. As a type A perfectionist, now looking back, I'm like, oh, I'm a failure. I didn't finish. At the time, this was my thought process. I looked at the pitches, and that's when the wind had started.
Yeah.
He was next to me. I could not hear him.
Yeah. My God.
With what we had been doing, he would go up first. He would shout to me, like, belay off. So untie, he would have clipped in to the wall really safely.
Yeah.
I would untie. He would bring up the rope. I would unclip us from where I was, and then I would climb, and then take out the cams.
Okay.
As I went, I would clean up, is what they call it. But he was yelling to me probably from like 200 feet.
Yeah.
So I knew at that point, I would not be able to hear him from
Yeah.
the other pitches. Like
Yeah.
at that point, there was no way if I couldn't hear him next to me, there was
Yeah.
no way I could hear him.
That's
I
terrifying.
could deal with my fear of the heights
Yeah.
by just not looking down, which is
Yeah.
what I had done
Mhm.
for 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
But if I had to deal with not like the fear of heights and then not being able to hear him and
Yeah.
therefore feeling like I was on my own,
Right.
I just truly felt like I had reached my limit.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I still kind of feel like a failure, but if I was in the same position, I would make the same choice.
Yeah.
I just
No,
couldn't do it.
and you had you had texted me that day to tell me what you did. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." You're like, "Yep, so how was your day?" I was like, that's amazing what you just did. I didn't do anything. We like went to the park, whatever. Oh my God." And you're like, "Wow, that sounds so fun." Yeah, no, I don't recommend doing this at all. I'm like, what? You have to post the pictures though on social media.
No, I'll post it to our thing.
Yeah.
It, yeah, I mean, so then he has to belay me down
That
because
was going to be my next question is, so how do you get down?
well, I mean, he was like doing all the dad jokes, and one of his jokes. Keep in mind, I got most gullible in high school. One of his jokes was, "Well, there's a big zip line at the top of the mountain," and I was almost like, "Well, that doesn't sound so bad." Nope, he was joking.
Yeah.
And so that was not an option for me.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, climbing down would take a long time. So we are going to belay you down. I'm going to just send you down on a rope and then I'll go down." And I was thinking, what? Because at the part that I had decided to stop, we were on the top of, I guess, one part of the mountain, just not the
Right.
very, very top. So I saw over the edge, and that was another thing that made me panic. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna fall off," even though I'm like tied in and perfectly safe.
Yeah.
So he's setting up. Of course, I'm clinging to my little part of the rock that I'm like holding on for dear life. So he's setting up, getting ready to belay me down. Oh gosh. I'm just like reliving this moment again, and it's just not easy. So he's like, "Okay, now go backwards and stand up, and then you're going to walk off the mountain." And I said, "What? I don't want to." And he's like, "Yep. And then you're just going to be down in 1 minute." And I said, "Oh, okay, this sounds really scary." I said, "This sounds as scary as climbing the mountain." He said, I was like 5 years old. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I did not cry this entire time. Believe me, I wanted to.
Yeah.
But at one point I'm like, you really see people at their worst, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "No, I don't think of that way. I see it as seeing people knowing when they hit their limit. And that's a really cool thing to see." And I'm thinking like, you're just saying that to be nice, but whatever. I'll tell you, I'll take the W then. Whatever. So yeah, he's like, "Okay, stand up." Cause I'm like crouched down as close to the rock as I can get, knowing my back is facing nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nope, I need you to stand up so you can make the rope tense." And so again, it's one of those things. Well, if I want to be on like ground, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So I stand up and I step off the mountain, and like I see the rope like tense against the rock,
Uh-huh.
that like I don't know, like the friction of the rope against the rock. And like you
Uh-huh.
can just imagine the strands of rope tugging as it like rips its way over. Like, do you know what I
Oh my
mean?
God.
Like
Yep.
the
Mm-hmm.
rope over the rock,
Yeah.
as and it's like so tense. And I saw that. And of course, I just imagine like it splintering and
Yeah.
breaking and me falling and plunging to my death.
Right.
Granted, it's a brand new rope that's made for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Never mind that. At that point, logic had completely gone out the window.
Yeah.
And I remembered every single prayer that I'd learned in Catholic school. And so I'm going down this mountain with my feet pushed against the rock, and I'm going, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou." I'm just saying, I'm saying Hail
Just
Mary.
screaming at the
No,
rocks, I'm also with you.
I'm just going, oh my God. I'm like, please let me live. Please let me live. I want to see my kids. It's like, I'm saying like Hail Mary after Hail Mary. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh my God.
God.
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, that was probably just as scary as climbing 1,000 feet. Like,
Yeah.
so like these pictures that you see that I will post to our Instagram, I look like this badass. I look like this hardcore adventurer.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that I was 5 seconds away from a complete panic attack the entire time. Even when I'm smiling, even when he's looking, when he's saying, "Hey, smile," and I'm literally about to cry because I'm so scared. I gave him a smile because whenever
Mm-hmm.
there's a camera in my face, I just can't miss an opportunity, apparently.
First of all, if that's the pictures everyone's seeing on social media, then that's accurate because that's what social media pictures are. They're
Smoke and
the, oh, look
mirrors.
at these perfect moment. Also, regardless of how you felt, you did it. So you are a
Oh
badass for
my
doing it.
gosh.
So, I mean, I don't even want to hear anything about like, I was so scared. You did it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was good for me. It was good for me to really truly force myself to use that logic
Yeah.
over anxiety
Yeah.
because as we know, I'm a spiraler. So it was good for me to be like, I know that this equipment is safe. I know
Yeah.
I'm in the hands of a really professional, very secure person who is very good at his job.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben. Yeah, it was just a good experience. Would I do it again? Uh, Probably. I just don't know that the next time I'd go as high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very scary. It was very, very scary. It just was. But I will say it makes me want to get back into the gym and know how to like belay again
Mm-hmm.
and like top lead and stuff that he did. I want to
Yeah.
learn how to do that. It makes me want to just get better at climbing because I enjoyed that part and just climbing real rock was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I just had to relive it. It's too much.
So that was an amazing part of your trip. That was the second day you were there.
Yes, yes. So that was the day after we got there.
So
So the
what did you
rest,
do the third day you were there?
yeah. So, kind of recovered the rest of that day
Yeah.
because that was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we went to the Hammond's Candy Factory.
That I
Oh,
did see that picture. That's
that was
fun.
great. Okay, so I had a thing for Unwrapped that was on Food Network. Shout
Mm-hmm.
out to Mark Summers. I loved that show. It was a show on Food Network where they showed you like the inside of candy factories, how they made all those sweet treats and snacks. Loved that show. Could go on and on. So we went. It was Michael's idea to go to the candy factory, and they offer a free tour.
Okay.
Hammonds, they make a lot of hard candy. So like any kind of candy cane you can imagine, lemon drops. They recently started doing chocolate bars. Recently started making popcorn, stuff like that. You guys have probably heard of Hammonds or seen candy somewhere. So we did that in the morning. And we got to, I think I actually have a couple pictures of that on my Instagram and Twitter. And we got to watch them make birthday cake candy canes. That was really neat. And then after the tour, first of all, they give you candy after taking the tour, which is really cool. You watch a little video as well. And then you walk into this huge candy store following the tour. And it's like this, like literally a kid in a candy shop. Like I was worse than the kids. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is great. I was so happy. And I got some lemon drops. I got some, I guess their best seller for popcorn, which I did not know this, is the cheddar sriracha popcorn.
Okay.
I got. And the kids got a couple things. We got a bunch of chocolate bars for the parents. So parents, if you're listening, spoiler.
Spoiler.
No, but they have chocolate bars. Like it was like, I think it was like bacon and potato chocolate bars.
Oh,
Then they had like
interesting.
s'mores and stuff like sea salt and almond or whatever.
Yeah.
That was like a true highlight. I don't know. That just completely like fulfilled my unwrapped dreams. And then in the afternoon, Annie and Michael climbed Chief Mountain.
Okay.
So for probably a year, Annie has really wanted to climb a mountain with Michael. Ever
Mm-hmm.
since Michael actually climbed mountains, it's been something she's really wanted to do. Jay and I were gonna go, but I noticed that Jay had been really thirsty that day before,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, he just seemed a little dehydrated.
Yeah.
And I was all full of adventure and just kind of my cup was a little overflowing, so I was
Right.
completely fine staying behind. So he and I went swimming and just kind of laid low at the hotel. And Chief Mountain is probably about 9,000 feet. So Annie and Michael climbed that together, and I have lots of really cute GoPro footage that Annie took.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Annie holding the GoPro, being like, "So, I'm Annie, and my daddy and I are climbing a mountain, and uh, I really wish that Mommy and Jason were here." And then it's like the camera would go all haywire,
Yeah.
and you hear Michael in the background being like, "Oh, remember to keep it steady."
Yeah.
So that was really cute. It was really cold though, like so cold that um, they brought snow pants and boots and like a balaclava
Mm-hmm.
thing. Um, but they had a really great time doing
Oh,
that.
that's good.
Yeah. And we ate every meal in our room. So our room
Mm-hmm.
kind of smelled like pizza by the end of the trip. But we just did pizza for dinner, no big deal.
Yeah.
The hotels offered breakfast. I do want to give props to Hilton. Um, totally off subject from what we were talking about, but I just thought of it. So we stayed at a Hilton hotel the first night, and what they did is you walked up to the breakfast area and there were two people there, and they asked you what you wanted, and then they all got it for you, put it in
Okay.
a bag, and then you brought it back to your room. And that was really,
That's
really
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Where at the second hotel, they also gave you what you needed, but then you could eat there,
Right.
which it's like, I don't, you know me, I don't eat inside.
Yeah.
My thing. Um, but we still would just bring it back to our room. So our room did not honestly smell great by the end of the trip
Yeah.
because,
Just eating everything in there.
it's just full of food. But I
Yeah.
do want to say that Hilton, cleanliness wise, did a very, very good job. Their cleaning procedures seemed really good. And if you're looking for a hotel to stay at, I do recommend Hilton over the other place we stayed. They just seemed like they took the whole COVID thing very seriously.
Yeah. That's cool. Fun. Well, I'm glad you got a little trip away.
I know. Just check in with me in like 14 days and see how I'm doing.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, we did take every precaution. I literally brought an entire Clorox container, wipe
Yeah.
container with me, and we washed our hands a lot. We really were as safe as we could. We didn't go inside if we could help it, but
Yeah.
obviously we did. There was some risk in traveling, but we do feel like it's our responsibility to be as safe as possible and to get a COVID test and to quarantine because we made the decision to travel. So
Yeah.
I do hope that if other people are doing that, they take it as seriously as we did. Not
Yeah.
like I'm like the expert at like do what I do. I'm making such good decisions, but we want to keep it safe for people who are flying and
Yeah.
people we love. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
that was my little travel story. It's definitely good to be
Awesome.
home.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions about what I did or where we went, you can email us at magicalmommymondays or find us on Instagram at magicalmommymondays or Twitter on Magic Mom Mondays.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I will just put that in the show notes because that was off of memory, honestly.
And I did want to give a shout out because we didn't do this in the beginning. On our last episode, we had Derek and Doug from Rope Trap Radio. So I just wanted to shout them out again and thank them for coming on because it was really cool talking to them and especially getting their perspective having been in Disney recently. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and now that we're wrapping up this one, you can go listen to that one.
For sure. Thanks for listening, everyone. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. You can find us on Twitter at Magic Mom Monday and on Instagram at Magical Mommy Mondays. The music you heard on this podcast was written and produced by Matt Harvey. We'll see you next time.